Hello, 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 and welcome back to Chakras and Cuss Words podcast. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Catherine. I am the podcast host, and I'm going to tell you guys that I'm a little bit of a alchemist, a little bit of a lightweight astrologer. I don't concentrate too much on astrology. I concentrate on everything that's going on. So the energy of the world and the astrological energy, the chakras, all that stuff, all of the chaos, all of the craziness that kind of comes out as this world is turning. So, we're going to get into the astrology for June. I want to say June was one hell of a month. Oh my God. Fuck, I'm tired. Like, I woke up today and I was like, I gotta record. I just gotta talk about what has been going on and we gotta figure some things out. Look at the astrology that is occurring, look at the astrology that has happened. So, we're first gonna do a reflection of June because that's usually what I do. And then we're gonna go into the astrology for July. Things to look out for, events, dates, all those things that are definitely going to stand out. So let's get into the reflection because I'm going to tell you, the reflection is going to be a lot. There's a few topics I really want to talk about, and there's been a lot of energy. So first in the beginning of June, kind of around June 4th, we had Venus in Aries sextiles Jupiter in Gemini. And we also had Mercury in Gemini sextiles Mars in Leo. We had a few big stories. So one of the big stories were for people who follow Cardi B. Cardi B, basically, her divorce is over. She is acknowledging she hasn't actually been completely divorced, but she's filed for divorce. They've been kind of arguing and being, I guess you could say, arguing amongst the media. But Cardi B has been tied to Stefan Diggs, and she publicly kind of went forward and showed Offset how much Stefan Diggs is spoiling her. And I'm here for it because Cardi B, in all honesty, was put through hell and back with Offset. He was a freaking serial cheater. That man could not keep his penis in his pants at all. And just through their whole relationship, it was basically Cardi B going crazy on the internet because Offset cheated. And it kind of got to the point where people were like, okay, Cardi, we're tired of you being with him. And what's interesting about this is we have the Venus and Aries sextiles Jupiter and Gemini. Cardi B is a Libra, but also Offset is a Sagittarius. And so is Stefan Diggs. So I'm going to say, Miss Cardi, you really like your fire sign men, especially Sagittariuses. But I've kind of taken a sneak peek at Stefan's chart. And I'm going to have to compare their charts together because I definitely feel that there could be a cosmic connection with these two. I see the chemistry as being very strong. For longevity, that's something we're going to have to continue to look at. But I definitely feel like they have a very fun connection. Very fun connection. Then right around June 5th, the Mercury and Gemini sextiles Mars and Leo. You guys can't make this fucking shit up. Elon Musk and his ultimate bromance, Donald Trump, have a huge fallout. The boys are major fighting. And Elon Musk basically goes on Twitter and just starts dropping fucking conspiracy bombs. He is I don't know, there's a lot of speculation that Elon Musk is doing some special K. You know what I'm saying? He is literally just going so hard on Trump. He basically stated on Twitter that it's time to drop the real bomb. Okay, and this is coming from his official Twitter, that at real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and that's the real reason why they have not been public. And then he dropped it with "Have a nice day, DJT." What the fuck? Did I see this relationship breaking up? Absolutely yes. Because we have a Gemini, okay, a very strong-minded Gemini, a Gemini who is the president. And having a relationship with a Cancer, and a very Cancer who I think is using drugs, and also a Cancer who has a little bit of some low self-esteem. Like, if you can't see that Elon Musk is going through some things with all his hookups, and yes, he does have a huge big ego, and this is like two big egos battling for attention. And we have that alignment of the Mercury and Gemini sextiles Mars in Leo. Trump is a Leo rising. So it just literally started off a frenzy. Like, the internet was so, like, just swarmed up in this. It was insane. And then also on that day, we had Venus enters Taurus, where the relationships and that energy of the Taurus of being very fixed and being very centered in your own ways really took a hold of the presence of what was going on. And Elon basically alleged that Donald Trump was named in the listed classified files related to the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. And there's been so many photos of them together, and a lot of people think that something's going on. Elon Musk is definitely very rich and powerful, just like Trump. But after he dropped that bomb, a lot of people are like, okay, I feel like something financially is going on as well. Because what else would make two men like this, two very powerful men, fight in public like this? And then it shows like that Cancer emotion where the Cancer just cannot just let the emotions go away. I think that had to do with SpaceX. I think that what happened was Elon Musk wanted Trump to like support him with SpaceX a little bit more. And Trump's like, because one of Elon's homeboys is a Dem. And Trump's like, yeah, no, nope, I'm not. And I'm not going to continue to support you with SpaceX to that degree. Like, we're not getting a Dem in here. Absolutely not. What's also interesting is like Kanye, Joe Rogan were like, can you guys, bros, can the bros please stop fighting? Can the bros please stop fighting? It was hilarious. Oh my God, I was so stuck on the internet. Then right around Mercury entering Cancer around June 8th, and then also we had the Mercury in Gemini conjunct Jupiter in Gemini. And we have to remember that Jupiter was in a very, very strong critical degree because it was literally getting ready to turn over into Jupiter in Cancer. So we had all this energy of Jupiter getting ready to turn over into Cancer. We also had the full moon in Sagittarius. Jupiter enters Cancer on June 9th. And then we started to see the ice raids come. And I did a huge podcast on the ice raids and talked about how the protest basically really started to take acknowledgement right around the time that Jupiter hit Cancer. And it was like in full swing. Many people were very upset about the immigration reform that Donald Trump is putting out there, and the deportation. You know, at first the deportation was supposed to be just on criminals and people who are seen as people who are not contributing to a society, right? But it's undeniable that innocent people are being attacked and deported. And, you know, a lot of people want to get into this debate about they're criminals because they're here illegally. Technically, that's not a criminal crime. It is a civil crime. And also, the way that the people were deported was just so fucking filthy and so wrong. Like, I understand saying like, look, you have from this day to this day to get your shit together, to get your papers together, and then we're going to deport you. You need to go to court. You need to do it the right way. Most of these people were doing it the right way. And LA just fucking went nuts. And I did a huge podcast on this. But basically, the tensions in LA, was at an all-time high. And it basically escalated from Sunday, where thousands of protesters went to the street protesting Donald Trump and the deployment of the National Guard, because a lot of people felt like the National Guard were insinuating a lot of the violence and a lot of the aggression. Some police patrolled people with the horsebacks and hit them with batons. Guards would also throw, tear gas at them and whatnot. And all while this is going on, ICE is still deporting people, basically picking them up from the street, showing up at court dates. There was speculation that people were being deported from schools. So LA has always kind of been seen as a sanctuary city, a city that had more sensitivity around immigration, especially in the Hispanic community, especially with Mexico. And just the people of LA began to fight back. And I understand why, because I personally feel like the way that they went about this was just so wrong, so messy, and it was literally not done in the right way at all. So it's just disgusting how they did it. And also, it just was uncalled for. Like, the immigrant population, and especially the Mexican population, is LA. It's like part of LA's history. It is part of Mexico's history, how Mexico was basically stolen from the US. But like I said, if you want to check out that podcast, I have a huge podcast on it. The LA ice raids and Jupiter entering Cancer. Also around this time, we had June 11th, the full moon in Sagittarius, where I think a lot of people were getting very brave. That energy of the Sagittarius is very brave. We also have Jupiter in Cancer, which is all in the US's house. Okay. And it's also the Jupiter in Cancer return. We also had Mercury in Cancer squares Neptune in Aries, where it was definitely volatile. We saw Vesta going direct in Scorpio. So there was definitely a lot of conversation. The day that Vesta went direct in Scorpio was the day of the King's protest, the King's parade, where was also the day that Donald Trump decided to have his, military parade. I think he was taking a page out of Chinese, and a lot of other countries do kind of show honor to their military and their armed forces. And Trump wanted to do the same, so he had his parade. Unfortunately for him, it was also his birthday, and not that many people showed up. I mean, more people obviously were at the King's Parade, because the King's Parade was like nationwide, and they were protesting. There seemed to be a lot of talk that the parade was mostly peaceful. The conservative media always likes to show how the looting does occur. Yes, there is looting. Yes, with most parades, there's people, and most protesting, there's always people who are going to take advantage of the situation. Just like there's police who take advantage of certain situations and use excessive force. There's always those, as people could say, those one incidences or those few incidences that really take away from the actual meaning of certain energies. And yes, there was, looting, there was rioting, there was burning cars, there was all that. And there was also excessive force from police as well. So the thing is, if we're going to accept one energy, we also have to accept the other energy, that sometimes people just act insane. And I don't know how else to say it, but people just get way too excessive with their energy. They said over 5 million people nationwide showed up for the King's protest against Donald Trump and the immigration reform that he is doing, and also the mass deportations that are occurring in the country. So that is a huge turnout. I don't know how many people showed up to his military parade. Also, around this time of June 14th, June 13th, the Diddy trial is everlasting. They're actually closing up some of the Diddy trial. And Kanye West made a shocking and very bizarre quick appearance. Now, he is probably the only celebrity who is showing support to Diddy. And West arrived with Combs' son, Christian Kingscomb, who he's got his own fucking problems. Like, this dude is kind of just like his daddy. And I think he was mentioned in some lawsuits too. And during this time, we see that like Kanye is supporting Diddy. And Jane Doe, one of the witnesses, talked about how she had an incident where she was traveling with one of the S workers and with a iconic rapper and his wife, and they were watching the S worker and the iconic rapper and his wife have interactions with the S worker. So Kanye has admitted that he likes the voyeurism of watching his partners hook up with other people. It's just so weird. It is just so weird and just creepy. Now, if it's all consensual, okay, but you can't tell me that Bianca Censori, I think she's a little bit odd too. I mean, she has this victim mentality where I do think that he is controlling her and she is like in this abusive type relationship. But then also when they're separated, they're still together and she continues to wear like those outfits. So I don't know. I don't know. They're just very odd. Very odd couple. Very odd couple. Also around this time, we had some major news in global politics. And let me just try to break it all down. So right around the time of June 17th, Mars enters Virgo. And what's interesting is I always feel like when Mars is in a fucking earth sign, just some shit really fucking hits the fan. And especially with Earth and globally. So around this time, Trump warns the Tehran residents to evacuate immediately. And I will say he's doing a lot of this shit on his Truth Social, which doesn't seem very presidency, but you know, Trump is Trump. And the US president basically warns residents of the Iran capital of Tehran to immediately evacuate, hinting that there might be possible major Israeli bombs, or there might be some major conflicts that's really hitting this area of Iran. So Trump basically said Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame and what a waste of human life. So, of course, people are thinking, oh shit, they're going to start fucking bombing. And he put this on Truth Social, and he simply stated that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And everyone should evacuate immediately. So Trump has now been asked, or has now entered into this geopolitical conflict that has been going on with Iran and Israel. Now, my take on Israel is Israel's a fucking bully. Israel continues to invade multiple people, multiple countries. And I personally think that it has to do with power, money, greed, and land. And maybe some oil. Right? But, you know, they're saying Iran has nuclear weapons. It kind of reminds me of the weapons of mass destruction. And then they find out there's no weapons of mass destruction. I believe that was George Bush. But I'm just saying. So on Iran and Israel, airstrikes started to happen. So a rapid escalation between probably around mid-June is when Israel bombed Iran's nuclear sites. Iran retaliated, striking back at U.S. base quarters. And former President Trump claimed a ceasefire to end the 12-day war. So they did have like a little 12-day war. And he claimed that on June 23rd. And then automatically they started bombing like after Trump was pissed. And then that's when he basically said that, they're like children and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. A lot of people were very upset that Trump had put the U.S. in harm's way because they said, like, this is not our fight, blah, blah, blah. But Trump is stating it's because Iran possibly could have nuclear weapons and they have been building these nuclear, sites, and Trump wanted to basically bomb them to make sure they don't have nuclear weapons. Also, we have a lot of stuff going on in Gaza still. So Gaza is still basically under siege, being attacked by Israel. The violence has not stopped. And it's very sad because there's so many people dying. And during an aid distribution of aid in Gaza, we have to remember that Israel controls everything, all the aid, all the food, everything, all the way that the people are able to leave, everything. So with some type of, food distribution, that dozen Palestinians were killed at the aid sites in incidences around Rafah. And a lot of doctors who are down there are basically saying that these are like traps, almost like traps, like mouse traps. Like people are going to receive aid and then they're fucking killed. Can you believe this shit? I'm just like so disgusted with the world. So disgusted with mankind. It's like most people don't want war, right? Most people just want to get along, live our normal basic lives in peace. But unfortunately, when we have corporations, governments, greed, it just takes people by hold. And this is the meaning that greed, money, politics are basically the evil of mankind. Also, there was the NATO summit on June 24th. It literally just happened. And they agreed to strive for defense, spending about 5% of the GDP by 2035 to sustainable increase in long-standing of a 2% target. Trump was very vocal. That's when somebody called him a daddy. And he's like, oh, I'm a daddy. And made that god-awful TikTok where it's like daddy's home as he comes into the White House. Like Trump is very gross. I think I threw up when I saw that. And so the geopolitics have been insane. Also around June 19th and to the 22nd, like I said, right around the time that Mars went into Virgo, we have the tornado outbreaks. And there were so many storms that swept the U.S. and southern Canada, producing EF3 tornadoes and wide winds up to 100 miles an hour, resulting in 7 deaths and extensive damage. Now, it could be more now. We also had historic heat waves. And what's interesting is now Mars is still in Virgo, but now Mercury is in Leo. So we are now getting all these heat waves where the southern Europe hit up to 40 Celsius with red alerts in over 20 cities. Also, New York declared an emergency heat wave, likely breaking 125 records. And June's heat period started early but continued to increase. So there's just tons and tons of heat waves and tons of weather conditions that have just been wild since Mars enters Virgo on June 17th. We also had the first day of summer, and the sun enters Cancer, and also summer solstice come through. So one of the stories that I wanted to talk about, which was very just sad, just a very sad, very sad story, was what happened with Gloria Zamora. So on June 21st, right after the first day of summer, right after summer solstice, Gloria Zamora, who was a California resident, was basically murdered by her estranged husband. There's a lot of speculation about this case, and it's quite disturbing. So what we know is that she was leaving her husband. She was like an Instagram model, and it seemed like she had a very estranged relationship, and she even talked about how her husband could be kind of controlling. So on June 21st, around 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. in Fontana, California, Gloria Zamora, who was 40 years old, and her dinner companion, Hector Giordano, who was 43, were seated at a sushi restaurant parking lot when they were ambushed and shot by her estranged husband, Thomas Alberto Tomoya. And an off-duty San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputy nearby heard the gunshots and responded swiftly, confronted the shooter, and fatally shot him at scene. Gloria and Hector were both rushed to the hospital and later pronounced dead. So Gloria Zamora was very well known as a fitness influencer and Instagram model with over 150K followers. She was a mother of 7 children between ages of 8 and 24, a host of her podcast, Horizon, and also recently announced her decision to have a divorce from her husband. And the split appeared to be very, I guess you could say, toxic in some areas. The father of 4, who was Hector Giordano, was remembered as being a devoted and hardworking man. There's definitely a lot of family impact, huge collective of children now being left without parents. And also for Gloria's children, now her children are being left without both parents, have passed away, were basically, end product of this violence. So the family impact and community response for Zamora's daughters, Jazeline, was described her mother as a light in her community, and also emphasized that she motivated many women, that women can do anything that they set their minds to. And she lived for those, and she lived those words every day, is what her daughters basically stated. So there's definitely been some ongoing investigation. Like, it seemed like her and her husband were breaking up and she was already moving on. There's a lot of talk about if she was taunting her husband with the new boyfriend, because the boyfriend was basically putting stuff on social media, kind of like taunting the ex-husband. No matter what, even if they were taunting the ex-husband, you shouldn't kill anybody. But then there's also talks that the new boyfriend had a gun as well. So who started the first shot? Some say that Thomas, the ex-husband, was the one who started. Some say that Hector was the one who first started the shooting. To me, this story is very sad, but this story also, I would say, plays a lot of lesson in some aspects. Because we have to remember, when people are leaving a relationship, that energy, it's very emotional, it's very intense. As a woman, to me, your main focus should be supporting and providing for your children. Okay? That should be your main focus. Of course, with a breakup, tensions are high, emotions are high, And especially if you are coming out of a toxic relationship, you already know this relationship is toxic. You already know this relationship has acts of violence. Please, 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 please refrain from posting on social media, even if it's your job, but especially refraining from posting on social media that could potentially create something like this. Because when somebody is crazy and somebody is just in a whirlwind of emotions and is losing their shit, and it could be because they have lost their partner that they thought was going to be their partner for the rest of their life, whatever reason, and they're already violent, they are not thinking in their right mind at all. And they are thinking at a rate that is so fast, so passionate. I mean, this is obviously a crime of passion, right? This was a crime of passion. I don't think this was a sought out plan. Like he was like, I'm going to kill my wife. I think this was a crime of passion where they were both posting on social media, the new boyfriend and her. He was seeing it, even though she blocked him. He was seeing it and he just lost his fucking shit. And I honestly, as horrible as this is, shit like this happens all the time. So if you are leaving a violent relationship or a relationship where the other person is having an extremely, extremely hard time, for your own safety, do not post your locations. Do not post that you are now dating somebody or now have a friendship with another opposite sex. Please allow that individual to try to seek some kind of professional help, get a restraining order, do what you have to do. I don't know what is going on with the men. The men in our day and age are just becoming so violent. I mean, domestic violence has been around for years, right? But just the amount of women who are being killed by their partners is just, or their ex-partners is just insane. And as women, a lot of us need to be super aware of our surroundings, be super aware of our relationships, be super aware of that individual's mental state, and to protect ourselves and protect our children. And could this have been maybe, could this been avoided? Probably not. It sounds like he was just very violent, right? Any man who is going to confront it sounds like, to me, it almost sounds like she left one fucking toxic individual. And I don't know Hector, I don't know him. I only know what I've read in the media, but it sounds like she left one toxic masculine energy for another toxic energy, because this fool is taunting the ex-husband. And you could see it on social media, the exchanges. So, like, dude, what? I'm sorry. No girl is worth this. Like, no relationship is worth this. So, yeah, I guess just be aware of the people that you surround yourself with. Be aware of their situations. Be aware of the people who the energy that you put out sometimes comes back extremely intense. So just be aware. Just be aware. Please be aware and be safe, especially during a breakup. Very sad. Very, 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 very sad story for the children. Another story that I'm actually going to research a little bit more and talk about is those Labubu dolls. Labubu dolls, those little ugly dolls that everybody insists on having and putting them on their keychains and putting them on their purses. People are saying they're a little bit spooky and they're a little bit demonic. So I'm going to have to research them because I'll be honest, I've seen them, I've heard about them, but I don't know much about them. And I'm going to put something out. But if we are talking about entities and energy taking hold of items, yes. Oh, yes. It does occur. It does occur. It does occur. What energies are we allowing in ourselves, and what energies are we allowing in certain objects, right? And I know people are like, oh, it does not. But look at alcohol, right? Too much alcohol, too much drugs. We become a whole new different person. Now we got Elon Musk freaking apologizing to Trump because he's sorry. He's sorry. He went so hard on Twitter. Isn't that why you have Twitter? So you could go hard, and now you're apologizing. He said he doesn't know what got a hold of him. Maybe a little entity got a hold of him because he was doing some special K. And instead of look, Elon Musk, you just gonna have to say what you want to say. And then he did. And now he feels like, ah, shit, I fucked up. Okay, let's get into the astrology dates for July. Okay, so let's get into some of the highlighted major transits that are occurring in July of 2025. For those who are interested, I am literally recording around June 27th, around 7:13 a.m. So the major transits for July does feel a little intense, I'm going to say. But, you know, what are we going to do? So we have July 4th, the USA's birthday, where we have Venus conjunct Uranus in Taurus. So personally, this takes an area of like a wild turn in areas of love. Also expect like a plot twist and some energies of romance. It could also be some energies of conversation. I mean, we're definitely going to feel the fireworks, right? Unless you're boycotting Independence Day, which some people are boycotting the 4th of July, especially a lot of the Latin Hispanic communities are boycotting. They're not going to do a big barbecue. They're just going to kind of like chill, trying not to spend money. So that is some of the boycotts that are occurring because of the mass deportations, and just because people are very upset about a lot of the war that's continuing to occur in Gaza. I wouldn't even call it war. I would just call it genocide at this point. And a lot of people are very upset of a lot of the things that have been happening in the US. So we also have Venus enters Gemini on July 4th, where this energy could feel very flirtatious. It could also feel very karmic, centered around like good communication, and you're allowing like your charm, your energy of flirtatious movement to kind of speak volume. Also, this would be a good time to work on a relationship type spell, something that was centered around communication, allowing the energy of flow to kind of flow quite nice with the other person. Also, we have on July 4th as well. July 4th is a huge high energy day. The first week of July is very much a high energy week. Like, whoa. I'm like, whoa. It's just automatically starting off like this. Okay. You know, after going through June, I'm like, okay, damn, honey, can we get a break? Absolutely not, as the world turns. So we also have Neptune retrograde in Aries, and this is like a fade. It kind of feels like maybe our dreams might feel a little bit more like they're taking a nap. We might not be feeling so spontaneous. Maybe we see our energy of illusions kind of lifting. We're seeing that energy where we're not in that fog, maybe with personal identity and also with personal passions. We might see like, okay, maybe I'm not going to do this, or okay, maybe I'm going to settle more in this pathway. So we're going to want to keep our sight of what it is that speaks to us in great volumes still very driven. Even if we feel like that dream, that mystical illusion is kind of going away, we have to remember that we can ground ourselves with that fire energy. We could ground ourselves with that solar plex, working through the root, also working through the sacral, the energy of passion, and then working through the solar plex, especially if we're starting to feel a little less driven with our dream state and our areas of success. Because sometimes, in all, I see like being a little bit delusional, and that's the energy that the Neptune brings. And when it comes with like identity and areas of personal self, being a little bit delusional sometimes helps us. Like, there was a lot of times when I think about like when I started this podcast and I was like, I want to start a fucking podcast. I've always wanted to start a podcast. Like I always wanted to start a huge podcast listener, huge listener to content creators, huge listener to supporting other people's visions. And I was like, I want to start my own podcast, but I didn't really know like what. I didn't really know what I wanted to talk about, right? I knew I wanted to talk about something that would intrigue me, something that would keep me curious, something that would keep me engaged. I didn't want to talk about celebrities because celebrities, I don't fucking like them. I'm not like in any fandoms unless it's Prince. Like I'm a huge Prince fan. I'm a huge music fan. I love music. But I'm not like a fan of the actual celebrity except for maybe Prince. Prince was probably my only real person that I was like, I love me some fucking Prince. Like straight up. Everybody else, I'm just like, meh, whatever. Selma Hayek. I really like Selma Hayek, her acting. I really like, her, just who she is. That I know of, but we don't know any of these celebrities, as I'm saying, right? So I was like, I don't want to do a celebrity podcast, talk about world news, like kind of, but I don't even like watching the news. So, I like astrology and I like energy and I like the occult and I like the hidden secrets of the mystics. So I was like, I'm going to do a witchy podcast because I'm a little fucking witchy. And I'm just going to start. And was it off of delusion? Absolutely. Did I know what I was doing? Absolutely not. Am I still fucking here? Absolutely. So sometimes being a little delusional helps us. So that Neptune retrograde, if you are feeling like your delusion and your area of inspiration is fading away around July 4th, it might be that Neptune retrograde in Aries, and you want to pick up your magic, honey. You're going to go ahead and work with the root, the solar plex, and also the sacral chakra. And that will kind of let you get back into that driven Aries energy that we love right now with Neptune. Also, we have July 6th, a very high energy day. Like I said, the first week is very high. We have Venus sextile Saturn. There may be some, areas of creation of good, strong boundaries in the love department for some people. No flings. We want to see some commitments. We want to see some forever lasting inspirations of love. I mean, if you want to do a hookup, go ahead. Who am I to judge, right? Also, we have Venus sextiles Neptune. To me, Venus sextiles Neptune feels very artistic. It feels very magical. It feels like you are addressing your muse. You are the muse. You are the spell bitch. Listen to me. Listen to me, girl. Listen to me, girl or boy, whoever's listening right now. Listen to me. You are the spell, honey. You are the magic. You are the intuition. You are the energy that makes motherfuckers say, damn. Who is that? Keep it going. Pick it up. The Venus in sextile Neptune. Honey, it feels artistic. It feels beautiful. It feels creative. It feels centered around the intuition. It feels centered around the magic. I fucking love it. Definitely create some areas of intention, becoming aligned with self-care as it is centered around Venus, as it is centered around Neptune, your dreams, what it is that you want to create and make more area for. Living in that divine presence. Also, July 7th, we have Uranus enters Gemini. It's interesting. I thought it was July 25th, but no, it's actually July 7th. Uranus, however the fuck you want to call this vibracious, beautifully revengeful planet. I feel like that Uranus energy has a little bit of like revenge on its mind. Now it's entering Gemini. This is a high talking point. I am going to do a whole podcast on this. I got to continue to get my research going. I got to continue to have my dates down good because this Uranus enters Gemini motherfuckers been talking about this shit for a long time, okay? And all I gotta say is this is intense, okay? The last time, and if we're going off of patterns and we're going off of astrology, the last time Uranus was in Gemini, shit got real, okay? I don't know how else to put it. I don't know how these other astrologers are putting it, but shit got real the last time Uranus was in Gemini. Let's see, there was the Civil War, World War, the Revolutionary War. Who fucking knows what the fuck's about to happen? That's all I gotta say. There's a lot of energy with this. Feels intense. It's in Gemini. A lot of people are saying that they feel like it's going to be a war on communications, AI, technology, deep fake. And I've been saying that a lot of times I feel like it's going to be more like cyber attacks, a generational awakening, but we really want to look at what it is, right? I think people are still going to see some actual physical war besides technology-based war. We've been seeing it even if it's not happening in our country, but we are at war with a lot of the system. And could that be riots? Could that be more protesting? Could that be the revolution of the people is coming? The revolution of AI is coming? Who fucking knows? But we're going to talk about it. I'm going to do a podcast on it. And I didn't realize it was literally around the corner because I thought it was July 25th and I'm over here fucking taking my sweet ass time. And then I'm like, oh shit. I'm going to tell you guys the truth. When I'm looking at these dates, it's literally the first time. So we do real live astrology date checking on here. And I'm looking at it the first time with you and I'm thinking, oh shit, bitch, get your shit together. Also on July 7th, and we don't want to cause some more chaos, we have a little bit more. We have the dark energy of Venus trines Pluto. Venus in trines Pluto feels very seductive, feels very naughty. It also feels very naughty in the relationships. Like, you just want to put a collar on him and grab a leash and be like, who's your mommy? Call me Big Mama. Big Mama, Big Mama. He loves I'm his Big Mama. You definitely feel that action where it's like passion through intellectual energy deepens these sacred unions. Now, I'm all for some consensual kinkiness shit. Okay? You know what I'm saying? If it's consensual and both acts are willing to participate, yeah, maybe you want to rub some water-based oil. Okay, I'm going to remind you guys, water-based oil. Because when you start using oil that isn't water-based, that's where you get the infections, okay? But if you have people who are consensual, I definitely see some little kikiness in the relationship going on. You might want to put a blindfold on somebody, and you just want to be like, ooh, 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 honey, boo, boo, ooh, ooh, ooh. Do you like this? Do you like that? Maybe trying to strike up some conversations. I also feel like with this transit, we're going to get a glimpse eye into somebody else's freakiness in their relationships. And some of it might be more than freaky. It might be downright gross, or it might be a little abusive. But I definitely feel like the energy is going to be high with this Uranus enters Gemini, and also with the trine of Venus trines Pluto, where we might see some little bit of the factors of the underworld, right? Of the hidden. The hidden's going to kind of come out, of maybe some conversations of what happens in other people's bedrooms. Now, I will say, when you are in a relationship that does get a little bit more exploratory, you want to make sure that both people are in that right cycle. Me personally, there's a few things that I don't personally do. And as long as that individual has those boundaries, like me, I feel like so me personally, I feel like if you're bringing other people into a relationship, personally, I feel like y'all might as well just be separated. Fuck. I mean, if you guys are just staying together because, a housing, there's some people who stay together because of housing. Shit. It's fucking expensive out here in these streets. But like when you start bringing other people into the relationship, to me, it just gets too messy. I'm just like, I don't know, because I'm too jealous. I'm too jealous. I saw you looking in her eyes. Oh no, motherfucker, shit. Like I'm too jealous, and I know that about me. Do you know what I mean? So for me, that couldn't work. And also I feel like I've heard so many stories of just relationships gone wrong when they start, doing like all these bringing other people into relationships. Like, and with me, honey, shit, I bring somebody else in the relationship, they're going to fuck around and fall in love with me. I mean, and I'm going to have to try to get rid of them. Fuck. So for me, no, I can't do it. Also on July 10th, we have full moon in Capricorn. And it's going to be centered around moon magic, manifesting and being centered around recognition, grounded success, rituals of achievements. Are very potent. It's very, very fucking potent. It's very, 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 very potent. And it's very like, like magical, where you're like, yes, bitch. Yes. So I definitely see some strong affirmations coming up. I also see something happening with the world. Full moon in Capricorn. Definitely. I definitely feel like this is like harvesting moon, like recognizing what it is, the tributes. Also, we have Juno direct in Scorpio. The relationships, we're going to feel some energy of truth coming out, the energy of commitment. Why haven't people committed? Why haven't people been stayed in their cycle of loyalty? Juno is kind of like that marriage sign, right? So that marriage asteroid. So we're going to see that energy kind of go like, okay, you don't want to commit. I get it. It's time for me to move on. And we might also be learning with Scorpio that sometimes you got to dead certain situations. They're just over because they need to be over. July 12th, we have Saturn retrograde in Aries. Saturn retrograde in Aries, to me as a whole, feels like people are gonna be a little bit soft on their boundaries and be a little bit soft on their protection. So for Saturn retrograde, definitely you're gonna be looking at protection spells, clearing, but be aware of chaos. Be rebellious and behind the rules in areas of magic and also areas of structure. So Saturn retrograde, we might be a little loose there where it could affect us personally. So we might be seeing that sometimes we bend the rules for certain situations. And when we bend the rules for certain situations, that fucks us in the end. And what's interesting is like literally I was talking to somebody and they said, well, so-and-so is upset about this. Can maybe like we shift it? And it's like, no, we cannot shift it. We've already said this is what we're doing and blah, blah, blah. If they're upset, they're upset. They either come or they don't. Shit. Do you know what I mean? Like this is already something we established. This is already something we talked about. This is already something we agreed upon. And now because so-and-so don't like it, we want to shift all the rules. Once we start shifting rules, shit starts fucking us in the end, because then every time so-and-so gets something that they don't like, then they might be like, or somebody else might be like, well, they bend it for last time for so-and-so. Why can't they bend it for me? No, honey, if we're planning an event, girl, we plan an event. We said, this is this, this is this, this is this, this is this. And because one person don't like it, you either with us or you're not. Boom, but we're not changing it, okay? So that's what I'm saying. Like when you are centered around the Saturn retrograde in Aries, we possibly might see ourselves bending the rules for certain individuals or for certain events or certain energies, and then that energy just comes back. That chaos continues. That energy continues to thrive because we've already compromised our fucking boundaries and we ain't compromising shit around here. Okay? Shit. Okay. Also, we have Mercury retrograde in Leo, and it's very much seen as like the energy of being Mercury in Leo, just in all honesty, feels dramatic. You have that energy of Mercury, always, very beautiful, very centered around youth, very centered around communication, centered around the magic of the universe in areas of IT, technology, socialism, and it's in Leo. So it feels dramatic, obviously. So some of this drama might backfire. So with Mercury in retrograde, we're going to want to watch a few things. We're going to want to watch our words, because we have to remember our words are very powerful. They are spells. And we're going to watch our miscommunication is definitely likely to happen. And also the way we speak to ourselves, because Leo is centered around confidence. So I can see a lot of us like getting in like a little depressed, like maybe we're slipping on our affirmations or we're slipping on some shit and we're just like getting a little depressed and we're like, oh, Mercury's retrograde in Leo. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to Trump, considering he's a Leo rising. So we'll have to keep an eye on that guy. Also, I would say definitely for the fixed signs, you're going to want to keep an eye on that, what is occurring with that energy right there, because we have to remember that that Mercury energy will be affecting the fixed signs most definitely, as Mercury is in Leo. So look at your chart, see where your Mercury hides, especially if you are a rising sign. If you're a Leo rising, that's all in your fucking first house. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to want to look at that energy. Also for July 18th, Mercury sextiles Venus. So I definitely feel like people are being a little bit more centered around relationships during this time. Also July 22nd, Sun enters Leo. July 22nd, Sun sextiles Uranus. July 23rd, Venus squares Mars. Oh, fuck. And I'm ready for Leo season. The thing about Leo season is out in California, we tend to have a lot of fires with Leo season. It's just the climate, too hot. It's just the energy of the fire with the fire sign, and it just gets really bad. So hopefully we don't have that many fires. I personally have been like, wow, it hasn't been that hot for me where I'm at, but I know for other people in the country, it's been very hot. We also have the Sun sextiles Uranus, where to me, this feels like a lot of change and a lot of surprises in areas of destiny and also areas of shifting pathways. And maybe some like strange conversation pieces come out. UFOs, Sasquatches, I don't know, something strange. I feel like X-Files, something strange. Venus squares Mars. Honey. Be nice to that man. Sometimes you gotta be a little nice, okay? Sometimes you gotta be a little nice to that man. Shit. Sometimes you gotta stop being such a bitch and be a little nice. Now, if he's an ass, girl, you need to look at yourself and ask yourself why you continue to stay with an asshole. But if he's an overall good guy and you're just being crazy, girl, be a little nice to that man. Tensions can brew, honey, during this transit. Venus squaring Mars. Venus squaring Mars. Yikes. I believe Mars is still in Virgo. So where is this going to hit? The domestication. The area of Venus and Mars definitely feels like somebody's going to be fighting at the house, because Venus is in Gemini And I just feel like women need to be a little bit nice sometimes. I mean, we could be mean. Shit. Lord knows I could be mean. So yeah, be a little nice, be a little nice. Definitely be a little sweetheart. Can we be a little bit of a sweetheart? Just a little bit, try to. We will see. But that feels very like, tame it down, girl, tame it down. Okay, also we have Sun trines Saturn. So the Sun trining Saturn in Aries, to me, it feels like we are going to work on our boundaries because we've probably been slipping. And we're also going to be centered in our area of activity and divine discipline. We also have on July 24th being a high energy day after we just caused a ruckus in our house on July 23rd with the Venus squares Mars. We also have the Sun trines Saturn, the Sun trines Neptune, both in Aries, and also a new moon in Leo. And then we have the Sun opposing Pluto in Aquarius. What the fuck? Power struggles, power struggles, power struggles. For July 24th, I definitely wouldn't be out hexing anybody. But, you do you. I don't like the opposition of the Pluto with the new moon in Leo. I would be more centered around the energy of looking at your own power struggles and also looking at areas of reflection and shadow work, especially with the opposing of the moon, but also having that awareness that the new radiance and intentions are centered around self. I would definitely dive into some new glamour, magic, and routines. For sure. Also, the July 30th Chiron retrograde in Aries. That energy of healing, slowing down. We might be in our toxic girls era. Sometimes I like being in a little bit of a toxic girl era. All this healing shit sometimes gets a little bit, oh God, just give a bitch a bottle of wine. Fuck. It gets a little, it gets a little too much, like, oh, healing, oh, healthy, oh, powerful, Definitely the Chiron and retrograde in Aries. I feel like the healing rituals, compassion, self-compassion, we need to understand that every once in a while we have our toxicity come out. We have our energy of like everything is in a fucking bliss. Do you know what I mean? Like, I cannot stand when girls are like, or women, when women are like, oh, I'm trying to be so good. Like, I'm not drinking. I'm not, cussing. I mean, girl, if that's you, more power to you. Okay. I love that about you. And if you love it, you like it. I love it, bitch. But me, no, not me. I need to cuss. I need to drink wine. I need to start arguments with strangers. That's how I let out my energy, bitch. Okay, just joking, guys. Just joking. Maybe I should put a meditation out. I probably should write a meditation. Okay, so then we also have on July 30th, Venus enters Cancer. Let's get cozy with our feminine divine and our relationships. This is definitely a soft girl era. Right here. So we're probably going to go a little crazy on July 24th with the sun opposite Pluto. That's probably when I'm going to start drinking wine, cuss out a few neighbors, start smoking again. I don't fucking know. Then also we have the new moon in Leo. We're going to be on our shit. We're going to be a little kooky. Then around Venus 30th enters Cancer. We're going to work on our soft girl era, our little boundaries. We're going to be like, I don't want to cuss so much. I'm going to improve myself. And we're going to be very centered around storytelling. And we're going to be very centered around our own voice because we also have the sun conjuncts Mercury in Leo. So definitely around that time. All right, everybody. So thank you so much for checking out this podcast. Let me know what astrology dates you're looking forward to. And let me know what you think about the upcoming date. And how was June? Was June too much? It fucking was a lot for me. Fuck, bitch. It was a lot for me. And share this podcast with your witchy bestie. Have a great day. Bye.